Welcome back, everybody. Unfortunately, my microphone was still muted, but we are back with the grand final. Eclypsia are on the left-hand side of your screen with first ban, first pick option, and they are playing off against Gamehoppers in the grand final. $1,000 on the line. Winner takes all. We just had a very quick break. I managed to devour a huge hamburger in about 30 seconds, so om nom nom. Zotair, Irelia, and Rumble both being removed, so do you think we'll see a Darius ban as well?
We could potentially see that. I mean, Darius hasn't won any games so far in this tournament, so perhaps not. Irelia and Rumble played very well by Elmopo. Good bans coming down on their part. Shen and Morgana also usual bans. Leaving open, Malphite, Orianna, a lot of other potential bans coming down, Karthus as well. I have a feeling that Gamehoppers does not want to leave that one up, but on the other hand, they might go ahead and do it and chance those global ultimates.
Well, it's a decision that they are going to be forced to make in the next couple of moments. Zyra, once again, has been available all day long, but nobody has actually picked her. So, a lot of talk about her being OP, a lot of talk about her being so strong to deal with, but nobody's actually picked her. So Shen is available for selection. We see the first pick in, the first lock-in is in fact going to be Nunu. So not necessarily what we were expecting, but of course a very strong jungler, very strong champion overall, all round, whether you want to put him in a support position or as that very fast, aggressive jungler.
Well, we did see I'm So Fresh play him in the first game of the day against Fnatic, did an incredible job, forced the ban out in the following game of Nunu, so I expect we'll see much more of the same. Shlaya's, well actually, I was a little bit confused there, but yeah, Shlaya's Orianna, very good as well. So they're picking up a very, with the second and third pickups, very common picks. Orianna, Malphite, very highly valued. On the other hand, we saw the Soraka and Corki come down. Obviously that is the combination they want. That is a great combination. Certainly has a lot of dominant lane presence. Not so much aggressive lane presence, but really dominant showings early on and the ability to sustain, no matter what. So how are we going to see that countered? Are we going to see perhaps a Sona and someone who can play very aggressive early on? Over in North America, we've seen some teams pick up a combination of Nunu and Misfortune, who has really great early game potential. And of course, with the impure shots of Misfortune, you have that healing reduction as well.
Yeah, I like the combination. You mentioned that in the two ultimates that synergize so effectively, Absolute Zero, and if you lay the I think it's called bullet time over all of that, that's going to allow you to deal even more damage. But you've got great ultimate synergy so far already. Unstoppable Force in conjunction with the Absolute Zero, in conjunction with the Shockwave. There's a lot of crowd AoE control for multiple champions. We do see that Vladimir has been locked in. Kennen is available, so there's the potential for a Kennen-Vlad combination, which is something we see in EU pretty often. The double AP and the damage that can come out from the Hemo Plague as well as the Slicing Maelstrom, it's very high and definitely something to be worried about.
Yes, I do like this lineup. If they do lock in the Sona on the other hand, or the Sona and Kog'Maw on the other hand, I feel like they will be able to really take advantage early on against that Corki and Soraka combination, because Corki doesn't have the greatest of attack range. So generally what happens is he runs in, he attacks Phosphorus Bombs on top of that Kog'Maw, but then Kog'Maw can turn around, turn on Bioarcane Barrage, and then land a good 3 or 4 shots as Corki runs away, because Corki doesn't want to engage in an extended battle, especially down there with a Sona backup as opposed to Soraka. Should be more effective, especially for those first 2 levels. So we are coming down to this final pick. It could be, as you mentioned, Kennen. It's going to have to be someone to face off against Malphite top lane, and Vladimir can go ahead and do that. Vladimir does have the potential, does have the sustain, does have the sustained damage to be able to deal with a Malphite in the top lane, and we are going to see that combination. It looks like it will be a Zillion in middle. Hawkdon did play that earlier on, so certainly something they are comfortable with, something they've liked thus far in the tournament. And when you combine, that time warp of Zillion along with Udyr, but I guess I'll stop talking about how awesome that is, because it's actually going to be a Galio to deal with that Orianna.
I'm not 100% sure I like the lineup out of Gamehoppers right now. It does appear we have a very quick disconnect, so somebody's going to have a small problem that needs to be resolved. But the roster from Eclypsia just feels a little stronger to me. The combination of all of those AoE ultimates, the Crescendo, the Unstoppable Force, the Shockwave, Absolute Zero, etc., 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 is very, very strong. In terms of having a Galio, a Vladimir, an Udyr, and a Corki, if Udyr doesn't pick up some early kills and some early items, I don't know if he's going to have enough damage to be somebody that's, that Eclypsia needs to be worried about later on in the game.
And there's a lot of ways to build Udyr. If you send him top lane and he builds that Trinity Force, he does an incredible amount of damage and is able to dive to those back lines and then do Tiger Strike, attacks over and over again, putting down a really substantial dot on everyone. But on the other side of the coin, if you run him in the jungle, generally goes Phoenix stance, doesn't level up Tiger stance, doesn't go Trinity Force, tends to go GP10s into Wit's End, into Randuin's Omen. It just doesn't give him that same amount of burst, same amount of presence in the back lines. So I'm with you. I'm not as big a fan of the Gamehoppers lineup. I really like what we're seeing from Eclypsia because they have a good combination bottom lane. They have a good early, late, and mid game. I feel like they don't really have a weak point throughout the entire game. Orianna is going to be able to do well in their lane. Malphite's going to be able to do well in their lane. And most importantly, with both of those, pickups, they're going to be able to help out the counter jungling from I'm So Fresh, from his Nunu. And if they can keep the jungler from Gamehoppers behind, which is obviously their goal, then as they get into that late game, Udyr is hard to counter jungle, and that is, one reason to pick him up. But if they steal a little bit of farm from him, he's just not going to get to that point where he's going to be super effective. Whereas Nunu, he doesn't really have to be incredibly tanky or damaging. All he has to do late game is give that Blood Boil, that 65% attack speed bonus to Kog'Maw, and suddenly he's worthwhile. Like, that is all he has to do. Obviously, Absolute Zero, Ice Blast has a great attack speed debuff as well. Everything else he can bring to the table is very great, but he's going to be useful no matter what, even if he gets a little bit behind, whereas Udyr really needs those items.
So we do see that the champions are now locked in. We're into the 30 seconds before they start rolling around. And this is the grand final, ladies and gentlemen. You can actually find all the information. You can see the full bracket and exactly how we've made it here to this grand final. If you head over to www.fnatic.com, all the coverage is up there and you can actually see the brackets. Myself and Zote have brought you the action of every single game thus far. Fnatic were dropped out in the semi-final earlier today, and Mega Shock we just watched going down 2-1 against Gamehoppers. The winner of this best of 3 is going to pick up $1,000. So it's a winner-takes-all event. Bragging rights and the cash is where it's all at. There's actually a couple of comments up there as well, which is really, really cool. I haven't told Zote this yet, so I'm going to do it now. But Zote, put a tweet up on your Twitter page telling people to follow you and retweet this to win a prize. Because if you guys head over to twitter.com/lolzoter, that's LOLSOTER, and you retweet this tweet that's coming up, you guys actually stand a chance to win yourself a copy of The Secret World. It's download only. Ooh. It comes with 30 days playtime, and Zote has been really, really awesome and casting a huge amount with me. So head over to lolzoter. Throw up your @lolzoter in chat as well for all those people to follow you. And yeah, of course, if you've had some fun with myself, @quickshot while you're there. But sadly, I don't have a prize to give you guys. So Zote is the one with the goodies right now.
Great. Well, what exactly should I be saying in this tweet? I, of course, just sent out a tweet right before the game mentioning that it was coming up for the finals, but what should I say in this upcoming one?
Well, just that people need to retweet your tweet and they need to follow you to stand a chance to win it, and then you can pick one of the people that actually retweets your message. I'll send you the code over Skype after this the game is completed. I'm busy looking through some of the different rune pages on stream while we have the chance. Nothing out of the ordinary thus far. 2109s, 021.9s across the board. So I'm trying to find something exciting to look at. Let's see how I'm So Fresh is running on Nunu. 0.219 in the jungle in terms of his rune page, 4.5% movement speed, and 15% attack speed. So, standard Nunu page that we've seen thus far. Zelzor's Malphite. What is he wearing? So this is something different. 9-14-7. Opting to take those 2 points into Indomitable. 8.5 physical damage and 5.5 health regen. Which is of course going to help him out a lot against Vlad in that top lane as the game goes on, once he starts taking a few more Tides of Bloods and a few more transfusions.
Yeah, that will help out. Very defensive setups from both Malphite and Vladimir, I feel. I think neither of them want to go down to the, at least the continuous damage from either side, as they're both running quite a bit of magic resistance. That health regen will help out as well. So I'm going to retweet just to make sure a chance to win a Secret World game code. Is that correct?
Oh, right, I was muted the whole time, so sorry about that. Once at lolzote throws that tweet up, all you guys have to do is retweet his most recent tweet, which is coming up very, very shortly. And yeah, you guys stand a chance to win a copy or a game code for the Secret World. And it does appear that the loading screen is coming up, and then both myself and Zote feel the champion composition is just slightly stronger from the players of Eclypsia, but it is going to be up to them to actually make it work. It's going to be up to them to actually land those ultimates and land those abilities. And as far as the skin war goes, oof, unfortunately, I do have to give it, well, not even unfortunately, I do have to give the skin war to the members of Gamehoppers. Gatekeeper Galio, Hot Rod Corky, and Bloodlord Vladimir is really, really cool.
It is very, very cool. They have 2 legendaries there. And yeah, just a really good showing across the board from Gamehoppers. And we do love the Demolisher Nunu, we have to say that. And I love Reindeer Kog'Maw as well, but only 2 out of 5 isn't going to win you in this professional level of play. You really need to step up your game, Eclypsia. Hopefully you win this, you'll have an extra little bit of money in your pockets and perhaps buy those new skins. I mean, I'm not really rooting for one team over the other, but if you can't even get those skins as a professional player, I'm siding with you a little bit.
I like the thinking, and you have forever changed my opinion on Demolisher Nunu. All I hear is push, push, push. Push, push, push.
Push, push, push.
That's all I hear. So
let's see.
Go for it, go for it.
I was going to say, it'll be great to see if they do follow a very aggressive push strategy in this game. I will be excited to see that.
And they do have the potential to pull it off. I mean, Bioarcane Barrage with Blood Boil at range, once Kog'Maw gets some attack damage items, is going to be enough to actually melt some of those towers. So I'm very excited to see how that plays out. Everybody that has just rejoined the stream, this is the grand final. This is a best of 3, and this is a winner takes all event. So good luck to both of these teams. We'll see whether or not push, push, push Nunu is enough. A little bit of a poke battle there. One banana goes out, and Nunu just says, "Thank you for the nom-noms."
And so we see that again, Nunu being able to carry around that 1 extra ward because he has really great sustain with Consume in the jungle. Doesn't even need those 3 potions to begin with.
Only the single one. How much gold is he sitting on then? 15 gold. And it's just that ward that he obviously moved up and placed onto the inner Wraith camp. And unfortunately, no Team Acer there camping to pick up that first blood. I was hovering over the middle lane, but all of the taunts and the laughter was just driving me crazy, so I had to look somewhere where I couldn't hear any more voice prompts.
Good idea, good idea. We see every single game so far today, it seems like Gamehoppers have put in an early ward up top, and that just protects the top laner, but it only protects the top laner until 4 minutes in. So we actually saw earlier, did a good job, but by the time the jungler actually got up there, the ward was gone. So we'll see. It certainly will, stave off any really early aggression coming down from Nunu, but once, 4 minutes passes by, Nunu will have free reign of that lane once again to run in there, throw those ice blasts, and go to town.
And I assume a lot of the thinking behind that very early ward is it's against the jungler that you're coming up against. Nunu, a very, very strong level 2 jungler or level 2 ganker with that Ice Blast and potentially Blood Bowl, depending on how they start. Lee Sin, of course, another great low-level jungler, so maybe just worried about that early aggression. And of course, Mr. Vladimir on the top, his low-level gameplay is not necessarily the strongest of all champions in the game.
So I'm So Fresh, really interestingly, leaves one Wraith at his Wraith camp, and perhaps thinks he's going to be counter jungled at some point. I don't really know what the strategy is there, but it's not going to respawn, and I would think, you know, he would have the biggest advantage of, you know, securing that camp, making sure those Wraiths respawn, but we might just see him camp up this top lane for an extended amount of time, or it could have been a mistake. I really am not certain as to what the game plan was there, but he is going to get caught out by this early ward up top, so really good job from Gamehoppers placing that down. Now El Mopo knows what is happening. We also saw Malphite take down the Wolves really early on, which gave him a little bit of an experience bonus over this Vladimir.
And of course, Nunu, the route where Nunu's level 2 or level 3 or so moves up over into the enemy jungle to attempt to steal the red buff is also something that you see, I don't want to say very often, but it's not an uncommon strategy from jungle Nunu. So that little ward is giving them vision for all of that. This middle lane, Schleier putting quite a bit of damage down onto Hawkdom. He's forced to use 2 of his 3 potions already, and a little bit on the back foot, but Galio, one of the best AP middles to farm underneath the tower. Righteous Gust plus Resolute Smite, and just completely clears those waves.
We do see Udyr running around. They know that Nunu's still hanging up there because he's passed by that ward 3 or 4 times now, and he's just hanging out up top, and is going to pass by it once more, but now Udyr is going to come up top, and Zelzor seems to know that this is happening, but I don't know that they actually saw it, and now he's going to get a little bit caught out here.
He is now being chased down with the red buff, and my nuke button is just driving me crazy today. But is forced just to burn that flash, flashes over Udyr's head, and then immediately gets away to safety. But summon a spell blown, and if Udyr decides to come top in the next couple of minutes, maybe can make something happen. But look at this bottom lane. Corki and Soraka being pushed way back. Both Killwar and Havoc at half health, but Soraka, Corki near death.
Right. I mean, they will be able to heal back up, but yeah, the aggression is continuing. We see a power chord into a Hymn of Valor there, so really good showing by Sona, maintaining that aggression. The farm, 25 to 26, so they haven't really reaped the benefits as of yet, but they will eventually. We did see I'm So Fresh, go ahead and take down his Wraith camp there, but unfortunately, there was only one Wraith left, so I'm thinking that might have just been a mistake. We are seeing Broto on Udyr head down towards bottom.
This I like. He's coming in from behind. There's a lot of people that know. Immediately flashes over. Best Stun stance procs. Havoc is going to be first blooded. Compliments of Corki's Mr. Rolls. Best Stun was not actually used on Killwar. If it was, the stun was very short, so he was able to walk away. But Corki picking up that first blood, currently sitting on 1,200 gold. If he decides to go for the Trinity Force, which is something we've seen very many times today, he has enough for the Zeal, potentially even a Sheen, if that's what he'd like to open up with.
Yep, and we will see as he goes back. A great pickup also is a Phage as an early item, but he's going to go a kind of a standard route, picking up Doran's blades and not even giving away whether or not he's going to go. El Mopo.
Up in that top lane is going to go down to the tower dive, but I'm So Fresh is taking a lot of tower hits. One more, he is going to be able to get away. Very low, but Zelzor and I'm So Fresh, just with that Ice Blast, enough to pick up the kill on El Mopo.
Yeah, and through the flash of El Mopo as well, so it's always impressive to get a gank off a Vladimir who has that Sanguine Pool and flash up, so really good showing there. Barely escaping with his life was I'm So Fresh, but good job, and the continued aggression from Nunu is paying off.
Yeah, really nicely done. Schleier eats a Resolute Smite and Righteous Gust to the face, but he's going to be able to pull that back up. And we see actually a mirror image of items in this middle lane. Both AP middles opting to go for that Chalice of Harmony.
Yeah, not too frequently you see that, but Orianna and Galio are pretty much the two mainstays that pick that up, along with Anivia perhaps is the other main one. We do see Udyr, who's just been hanging out in this jungle this entire, the past 45 seconds or so, is going to head back bottom, knows that he's already burned the flashes from bottom, or at least from Sona.
And And then the exhaust goes down. Havoc 24 is then going to get stunned up from that Phoenix stance. The bear stance, rather. Phoenix is ticking away. Summoner heal actually gets used from Corki after Sona is dead. So a little bit slow on that reaction, unfortunately. I don't think it would have been enough to save Havoc anyway. But yeah, Havoc goes down. Flash halfway on cooldown. Ignite is now available for when he returns to lane. But 0-2. Corki with 1 kill. Udyr with the second.
Yeah, so a pretty good early start here for Gamehoppers. You know, getting some good kills on who they wanted to be on. Corki getting one, and Udyr, that'll certainly help out his jungle, whether he decides to pick up a Heart of Gold or, you know, pick up something that will help him increase his clear speed. We have yet to see. Top lane seems to be going pretty even between the two of them. A really early Kage's lucky pickup by Vladimir, though. It's
a really smart move. The GP10s, I don't know if I want to use the word the new meta or not, but you know, GP10 is becoming more and more popular. KG's lucky pick, Kage's lucky pick works so well on Vladimir. The ability power is going to give him HP, vice versa. If he opts to go for, you know, the Heart of Gold, the HP is going to give him ability power. So I like the itemization. The interesting thing about this bottom lane and the fact that Udyr is camping there, coming from behind, Kog'Maw and Sona have been somewhat overextended the majority of the time. You know, they've been beyond the halfway line, as it were. And Kog'Maw is a champion you don't want to give time to farm. You don't want to give him the ability to farm his way into the game. The ganks have given kills to Corki, but it hasn't shut Kog'Maw down quite as much as they were hoping. Hawkdon is going to come in, throws up an idol of Durand. I didn't actually see how he snuck into the bush. It was from a teleport.
Teleport, yep.
And yeah, picks up another kill on the bottom lane on Sona. She's going to stop yielding gold soon enough.
I mean, she will be worth gold for quite a bit while longer, but I mean, certainly the rewards are decreasing every time she dies there. And Killwar, like you mentioned, doing a really great job of farming. Actually, 70 to the 62 of Corki. You know, he's going to have to lose some now as he's going 1v2, and this lane is going to push, so he's going to lose out on a couple of waves here, you know, probably 1 or 2, but doing a really good job thus far.
We do see a 2 versus...
We did see also...
Yeah, the 2 versus 2 in the middle lane, just as that little shove was coming down from Orianna and from Nunu, but a little bit of poke onto the tower, not really enough to worry either Galio or Udyr right now. But kill score advantage 3-1, 1,000 gold up at the 10-minute mark. And no one going for Dragon up in the top lane though. Almupo is going to be forced to Sanguine Blade. He's going to eat one more brutal strike to the face. And the burst from Zalzor enough to chunk down what was a near full health Vladimir.
Yeah, I mean, he was down to maybe, you know, maybe 2/3 of his life, but yeah, really good showing there. Obviously, knowing the timing of the Sanguine Pool, didn't want to get interrupted. Obviously, you don't want him to dodge your Unstoppable Force with Sanguine Pool, but good showing from Malphite, and that's obviously one reason why Malphite is a top pick. You could just put in a couple of Doran's rings, and suddenly he was able to, you know, kind of work down that Vladimir, who's one of the most sustaining champions in the game, work him down, has out-farmed him thus far, you know, hasn't been going the same, you know, GP10 route, but it's a more aggressive, you know, very AP-oriented Malphite in that top lane who's now 2-0.
Yeah, really well played. I'm going to carry on watching these lanes and see exactly how this Corki Soraka lane is going to play it now that Sheen is on board, because of course we do see who is moving into the bottom. It is Broto. He is trying to bait back. Ignite has now gone down into Mr. Rolls. Broto is activated that bear stance, come to clear out those wards. But the damage that Corki is going to be able to put down, Phosphorus Bomb into auto attack, that Sheen proc gets very high. So we'll see whether or not this can actually start to change the lane farm in his favor or not. But yeah, really good farming from Kog'Maw. Berserker's Greaves and double Dorans. I wonder if we're going to see Trinity Force or the more standard Phantom Dancer itemization next.
Yeah, I'm uncertain. I'm really excited to see what happens and how this lane evolves. Of course, the crescendo still is up for Sona, but they have to be careful because obviously Udyr just camping out around this lane. Meanwhile, up top, Almupo getting caught out just a little bit is going to be able to force everyone back with the use of Hemoplague.
Yeah, throws that one out. He didn't even use his Sanguine Pool, in fact, so I think he was waiting for the Unstoppable Force, anticipating the Unstoppable Force before throwing out the Sanguine Pool. So he manages to get away with his life. How is it actually affecting his farm? 55 CS to 63, and he has a GP10 ticking over, but it does signal the dragon. So first dragon of the game going the way of Gamehoppers, and relatively uncontested.
Yep, almost entirely uncontested. There was a Void Ooze and a Living Artillery shot over the wall, not going to do anything, didn't even get sight of the dragon. So that is a dragon, and now a 1,500 gold lead coming down for Gamehoppers. I mean, one of the concerns is, we didn't necessarily like their team fighting presence as much as we liked Eclypsia's, but I'm getting a little excited because Udyr is down here, might be getting up the kill.
Yeah, he managed to flash forward. Unfortunately, that Void Ooze slow is just too strong. So, he flashed onto the slow, and that's never going to help Udyr, who needs to get into melee range. So, he unfortunately wasn't able to land that auto attack. And look at the damage from that Phosphorus Bomb into Kill Ward. Chunks it from 1350 to around 1,000 hit points, 300 or so. But if Broto can get the bear stun off and then land it, maybe followed up with the crescendo or an infuse and a kill. Unfortunately, though, they're just going to recall and nothing's going to come of it. We said we didn't like the team fight potential, but the Idol of Durand, it is a very, very powerful ability. So if Udyr is allowed to go to town and alongside Corki while Idol of Durand is running, maybe that's all they need.
Yeah, and obviously, the Hemoplague can increase the damage from that secondary tick from Idol Durand. He's going to be able to throw into that Ignite as well. So they do have a good amount of consistent AP damage. I think, we've just seen how strong Kog'Maw can be late game so far today, and that is, a big portion of why we're a little bit hesitant to give the late game advantage to Gamehoppers when the opposing side has a new Kog'Maw potential combination that is incredibly strong. And we're seeing a very similar build from I'm So Fresh that we saw previously, just getting that Heart of Gold and then rushing towards the Aegis, which should be coming out relatively soon here.
And it's one of probably the best items in the game. The amount of gold value that it actually gives you in stats is really good. And on a champion like Nunu, who throws himself in and amongst everybody and then throws up that absolute zero, it's very useful. Top lane, 94 CS to 63. So after that last game, Vlad is now falling behind 2 full levels behind Zelzor and starting to look in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, it certainly is, but he's getting a little bit of assistance from Udyr, who's coming on up here and, has the potential to go in. He knows he wasn't spotted by any wards. He has that Oracles running on him, but he did think that Zelzor went back.
So Ignite is now gone. Unstoppable Force has not been used just yet, but Sanguine Pool has. In actual fact, Almupo used it to get away. The beautiful teleport into Idol of Durand immediately means that Malphite actually goes down. So that's at least 1 kill. Waiting for that bear stun stance. It is actually going to come up, and a double kill for Galio in the middle. With a very nice use of the teleport summoner spell.
Yeah, Teleport Summoner spell went down, Wish came down, the Unstoppable Force missed thanks to Sanguine Pool, so a lot of things just not going well for Eclypsia and going very well for Gamehoppers. So maybe we were not right to question them, and Galio is going to be able to get back to his lane, have double buffs, and not even have to worry about this tower being taken down. I mean, there was a decent amount of damage done onto it, but it's still healthy, still it's about half of its life, and now Hawkdawn is back there to defend against it.
So now, we've mentioned that I still feel that if Eclypsia can get a good collection of ultimates together, Crescendo, Unstoppable Force, and an Absolute Zero to buy Kog'Maw some time, they still have good teamfight potential, but it's going to come down now to positioning and the correct timing of those abilities, as opposed to just fact my champion's better than your champions, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it certainly makes sense. There's a a margin of error that you have going into every team fight, and it's dependent on how far ahead you are in gold, how much better your team composition is, whether or not you have to perfectly execute all your skills or not. Land that Unstoppable Force on 3 to 5 people as opposed to just 1 or 2. So I certainly understand what you're talking about, and right now, yeah, their margin of error is decreasing over time. But they still, potentially do have that late game presence that we've been talking about all throughout the game, where they have that Kog'Maw, they have that Nunu, and Orianna is no slouch either when it gets into the later stages.
And we really have to give some props to the farm in the middle lane. 180 CS on Orianna to 172 CS on Galio. I'm starting to think that Orianna is the new favorite when it comes to farm champions, which the title used to be held by Galio and Morgana.
Yeah, absolutely. We see some aggression down bottom.
He's going to get stunned up. Kill Wall may potentially go down. He's going to land one more auto attack before being taken out. He's just going to use that Eclypsian surprise of his to farm up a couple more CS. And then that purple stain on the floor is all that remains. That's the first death for Cogmore now. Sona has already picked up 3 kills to Cogmore, 4 assists on Broto's Udia. And very, very good jungling from the Banbear Pig.
Absolutely. We do see a push down on middle, so they're like, okay, well, you're ganking bottom. I don't gank as Nunu, I just push. I push, push, push. So they're going to lose the bottom turret, but, you know, they are going to exchange it for a middle turret, so Eclypsia at least getting something out of that whole battle. Vladimir does come down middle. Are they going to counter push this? I'm a little bit confused as to the strategy. Vladimir and Galio, not necessarily the greatest pushers. They're not going to be able to do a lot of damage themselves to this turret, but they are grouped up in the middle there as if they want to get something done.
I think Vladimir is just having such a tough time in the top lane. He just says, you know what, I don't know how to deal with Malphite, so I'm going to go somewhere else.
And, you know, perhaps also setting up for the dragon that is now up. And he had picked up a Negatron Cloak, a pretty early Negatron Cloak to help them sustain against Malphite. And it looks like they're going to get their second free dragon of the game. They do have sight on him thanks to Living Artillery.
If the Negatron Cloak has been picked up on a Vlad and we see an Abyssal Scepter already on Galio, it's not going to be ideal to pick up another Abyssal Scepter. I wonder if it's possible to see the likes of a Force of Nature coming out on Vlad. It's not necessarily the worst item in the world, but it's not 100% ideal for him.
Yeah, I mean, we could see that. We could also see... Well, I was going to suggest perhaps a Quicksilver Sash, which I've seen on Vladimir's before, but there's not really a lot of CC that you absolutely need to cleanse, so you can use Sanguine Pool, for instance. You know, all of the, you know, CCs are pretty short-lived coming down from Eclypsia, and that might be, you know, a downfall that we hadn't considered before. I mean, Shockwave going to be a little bit of a knockback pull-up, as is Unstoppable Force, but, you know, Vladimir will be able to get relatively quickly back into that Sanguine Pool if he feels like he's in danger at any given point.
Yeah, that's so true. Malphite has returned to this top lane, sitting on 5,200 gold to Vladimir's 4,800. Currently has enough gold to finish off that Abyssal Scepter, but and it looks as though Vladimir wants to do the same thing. He has the Negatron Cloak, he has the Blasting Wand, and yeah, I just suppose we're going to see double Abyssals from the side of Gamehoppers right now.
I mean, not necessarily. Of course, he could turn that into an early Woda as well, coming down for Vladimir. I mean, Abyssal is what we would generally see from these items, but as you mentioned, it's not ideal to really stack those or items when they don't stack that way. You know, time will tell what Elmopo does come down with eventually. Almost certainly we're going to see the Abyssal coming down from Malphite, whereas Orianna seems to be rushing towards the Death Cap.
And we see that the Trinity Force has been completed for Corki, Phantom Dancer completed for Cogmore. So, you know, first big items completed, but of course Trinity Force is going to offer a little bit more than the raw Phantom Dancer is going to for Cogmore. Yep.
We see more aggression coming top lane from that Udyr.
It's going to be a landing at Unstoppable Force onto Almupa. Almupa gets out the Hemoplague, then Sanguine pulls out. The secondary proc may actually be enough to pick up the kill. Crescendo's going to hold them in place. One more Glance Slam, or rather the Power Chord from Sona is actually going to pick up the kill. Shockwave pulls Broto backwards. Now Hawkton is in the middle of the fight. He does have Idol of Duran, which does get casted, and Schleier actually walks right into it. A long-range air concussion grenade comes out from Hawkton. He's going to survive the absolute zero before Schleier flashes and lands one more of those clockwork wind-up auto attacks. They're going to consider this dive, and they are. Attack, Dissonance, plus one more wind-up little spanner tool, as it were, picks up that kill. While all of that is going on, Mr. Rolls is now committed to a fight 1 versus 3. Eats a snowball to the face, is trying to run away before getting aced. And an ace at 21 minutes. A little bit all over the place, but that has definitely pulled Eclypsia back into this game.
Right, and they're going to be able to pick up this turret and just about even up the gold. They'll only be about 600 gold behind after they pick this up, or I guess 800. My math is a little bit inaccurate, but 4-0 on Schleier, and we saw this earlier today. His Orianna is so stellar. You know, saving that Malphite, throwing down the command protect on Malphite. We saw him walk into the Idol of Duran from Galio, but he had to walk into that because he wanted to give the extra command protect shield to Sona. Did, allow Sona to survive from the initial burst from Idol Duran. Hawkdawn did a great job of landing up the, following spells to pick up the kill on Sona, but just a really, really great play, really great response to that top lane. They knew that gank was coming down, and Malphite did a good job, sticking around just long enough where he could help pick up those kills and really turn the fight in a heavy favor to his team.
Yeah, so awesome. Now, if those team fights can carry on that way, that is sort of the potential that we've mentioned, that we've seen, that we thought could come out of the Eclypsia lineup. They've closed that gold graph to only 1,600. It was a little bit greater beforehand, and it's going to come down to these positions. It's going to come down to how they decide to initiate, because of course, initially that was a 2 versus 1 against Malphite, but he survived for so long that it just bought Eclypsia all the time that they needed. Cogmore, there comes the unstoppable force. Shockwave is going to pull them backwards. Vladimir and Galio now very low. Idol Duran comes out, so that's a little bit of damage reduction. The first member to fall will in fact be Malphite, and it's immediately followed up by Galio. So 2 of the tanky champions are down. It appeared that my replay was in fast forward mode for a second or two. Killwar manages to survive. The crescendo only locks up Corki. Bear Stance starts now onto Havoc, but that's a full health Sona, so you're going to need a little bit more DPS if you want to blow them up. Almupo manages to get a second Sanguine pull out. That's how long that engagement was going on. But it ends up being a 1-for-1 trade. Top for middle, but it is going to cost them an interior turret, and Eclypsia are going to be very happy with this trade right now.
Yeah, and Udyr actually in a dangerous predicament there where we got slowed by the dissonance and by an Ice Ball Blast. Did a good job of not following up on that, not being too greedy and just taking that turret instead. So a 1-for-1 trade, but a really good showing from Eclypsia, showing how all their ultimates can work together. And Idol Duran really only caught Malphite in the middle of it. So that did not really wasn't a really well executed fight, I feel, from Gamehoppers. I feel like they can do better, and I don't know that everything went in fast forward view. I think that was just the reverie being used. It looked like everything was going really fast. Actually, I was like, how are they running so fast?
Yeah, it definitely gave me a little bit of a confusion there, but great moves from Eclypsia. They've been behind, they were losing their lanes a little bit, except for the bottom lane, of course, which Udyr spent a lot of time visiting both Cogmore and Sona. But pulling it back, giving themselves the advantage now. They actually have the 300 gold lead. They also have 2 turrets to their name, and both middle lane turrets are down. So they're going to be able to actually push around the map, look for that dragon control, look for that buff control. And of course, I'm So Fresh is running around with the Oracle's Elixir as well. So he's going to be able to remove all the vision in the world.
And it looks like we might have a repeat of the fight here. Obviously, Gamehoppers hoping to get this turret down before there's a defense set up. But I'm So Fresh coming around the backside, really scaring them away, I feel. They did not have Kog'Maw there as of yet. Kog'Maw did run back to pick up a BF sword, so that's definitely going to help him out in this coming fight.
And take a look at Vladimir's items, just going for raw sets. Unstoppable force catches 3, Shockwave immediately takes Soraka, which didn't even manage to go off. Almupo is going to follow very shortly after Galio goes down. Udyr is deleted at the end as well, and that is the team fight potential that we anticipated. That is what we thought was going to come out of Eclypsia. And wow.
Woo. And wow, I cannot believe that Soraka got instantly deleted from that fight. Generally, those ultimates combined together do a, large number, but not the entire life of the opposition. Of course, Soraka only level 10, getting hit by, those level 3 ultimates. Well, a level 3 Shockwave, but only a level 2 Malphite ultimate. Not level 16 quite yet is Zelzor, but that is going to spell a free Baron, and then they'll probably turn around. There's a Dragon up. Oh my goodness, a lot of damage going down on Corki as well. He will get away, but all these buffs are up. Dragon is up, bottom turret is up, so they are now 4,000 gold in the lead thanks to that fight. And the red buff stolen as well. Nunu's like, yum. Push. Red buff is mine.
Push. Nunu's 0-1-10 right now. His team has 12 kills to their name, and 10 of them he's been involved in. Not only that, he manages to sneak that red buff away, so cheeky, but that team fight was immense. Gamehoppers are going to reply by picking up Dragon, but they're going to lose another interior turret, and they don't really have map control as it is. I don't know if they can afford to lose these turrets without defense.
I mean, it's a tricky situation. I love seeing the counter dragon, the comeback dragon, as it were, because it kind of equalizes the gold that the enemy gets. But now they're in a really bad spot right now, and we see, you know, pushing down, Hogton is forced to use teleport to get back into position, so that really, you know, takes that away from his arsenal later on, where he could potentially split push, and middle lane is really almost down, and it is going to be down, and they don't want to fight a team with a Baron buff, so it's essentially going to be a free inhibitor here.
Yeah, so that's the first inhibitor down. The top tower is down to about half. We see those little movement auras coming out. The unstoppable force is available for Zelzor. He's just waiting for the opportunity to use it. And in actual fact, they're just going to hold them at bay. 701 Orianna and Cogmore 115. Currently sitting on 1,900 gold, so very, very close to completing that Infinity Edge. Just uses that Bioarcane, sits all the way back on the stairs of that base, and takes out the inhibitor without even really being worried.
Yeah, does not have to get in range of anyone, and I think the story of the day is really Vladimir 04, only 119 farm, the 176 from Malphite. You know, built that early Kage's lucky pick, but I think he got punished for that harshly. You know, it's been making gold for him, but it essentially, you know, made him give up his lane early on, and we don't even see a big ticket ID completed, and it's 27 minutes in the game, almost 28 minutes now.
Now, eats one critical hit from Cogmore, 338 health. He only has 2,200 hit points, so, you know, seven auto attacks, and that's him going to be dead. Without any other damage from Unstoppable Force, from Shockwave, he just is unable to really take the DPS that's being put down. And as long as Eclypsia can hold the line and allow Cogmore to keep dealing that DPS, they should be able to win those fights. And you just hear the tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la coming out of Cogmore.
He has the Christmas spirit. He is taking tower aggro. That's not necessarily what you want to do as an AD carry, but he's going to back off and be okay. He should get a little bit closer to Sona so he can heal up from her. Didn't get that last little power cord or that last healing cord to help him out. Did get that one, so he's healthy again. The Aria of Perseverance.
Yeah, healing them up, keeping them topped up a little bit. Chat definitely appears to like Kill War's little laugh, and I know I was a fan of it. So this creep wave is now up. They're literally just going to push down, so there are no more interior turrets on behalf of the Gamehoppers. Eclypsia are going to be happy with this one. Cogmore now has enough gold to finish up his Infinity Edge, and there are in actual fact super creeps beating on the Nexus towers.
Oh my goodness, so that is a terrible, terrible thing for Gamehoppers. I mean, certainly this game is still within reach for them. They're only 4 kills down. I mean, 6,000 gold. They had the lead throughout much of the early game. It's just they had that one really bad team fight top. And, you know, we were kind of mentioning, oh, that's, you know, kind of what we thought was going to come. But it's not really, it wasn't a great showcase of all the skills coming down from Eclypsia. It was mainly just a very disorganized, you know, fight where people kept on trickling in from Gamehoppers, trickling in and then dying. So that just went terribly wrong. And then in the next couple of fights, Eclypsia has really shown, okay, this is how you combo Malphite Unstoppable Force along with the Shockwave from Orianna. And, you know, one other great synergy point that, you know, I'm sure we've seen him play a number of times before, but that Abyssal Scepter coming down from Malphite means, you know, everyone around the ball is getting that reduced magic resistance, which really helps out with that burst from Orianna, who also has that that Void Staff as well. So she's doing very, very close to true damage to all of these people on the enemy team. And of course still has those 2 GP10s ticking down 7-0. Such great play by Schleia, from Schleia. Beg my pardon.
It's been 6 hours. You're allowed to make some small mistakes, though, Tay. Taking a look at also the combination, you've just made mention of exactly how the abilities are comboed, but part of that is also the fact that Megashot have been very grouped up fairly often, and Eclypsia have actually taken advantage of that. When they've been in a position where 2 or 3, look at the damage onto Hawkdawn from Kill War. But when they've been in a position where they are grouped up, there's no hesitation from Eclypsia. There's no, should we go, what do you think? No, there's just instantaneous reaction. Look, there's 3 of them, let's go. Idol of Duran catches 5 members of Eclypsia. Yeah, the crescendo does go out, but Galio actually gets blown up before anything else. The Shockwave only catches Vladimir, but it's not a problem because Malphite picks up 2. Cogmore is going to be able to do rest, and I believe that's a surrender vote as the members of Team Megashock start to disconnect from this one. But that was an amazing Idol of Durand, and that's what I was afraid of. Idol of Durand was good, caught 5 members. What do you do then? There's nothing else to add on top of that idol because everyone else is sort of melee and not in a position where they can just melt people's HP bars.
I mean, they followed it up as well as they could. The Hemoplague went on top of, essentially the entire enemy team. And Corki, Corki is 4-1. He should have been able to do a lot of damage, but he just wasn't able to follow up in time. Vladimir, 0-5. And still no big-ticket items. We see a lot of components for items built there, but no items completed. Didn't want to build the Abyssal Scepter, perhaps, because they already had one on their team. But what else was he going to be building? Woda would have been great for his team. Rylai's would have been good for him and good for his team as well.